Hi, I'm Adam Lucia, telehandler product application specialist, and today I'm going to talk to you about our TH357D telehandler. This is a 3.5 ton 7 metre machine. So that's 3.5 ton maximum lift capacity and 7 metre maximum lift height. So we're going to do a walk around on this machine, and the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is our powertrain. So here you can see that we have our powertrain mounted parallel. This gives us class leading serviceability versus the competition. Most other brands tend to mount their engines transverse, which means across the machine, and this means that all of the daily service points and all the filters are buried within that transverse mounting, which makes it very difficult as a service engineer or an owner operator to be able to perform the daily service checks and carry out the routine servicing. So we have a C4.4 Tier 4 final 96.5 kilowatt Cat engine, coupled with a 6-speed PG145 transmission, and we have a variable displacement hydraulic pump here. So the 96.5 kilowatt engine is fantastic with regard to transient response. That means that we get great power to the ground, and when we really need to see the machine pull itself out of those sticky environments, that it really does. When you put your foot to the floor, the power goes to the ground. Like I say, 6-speed power shift transmission. This machine enjoys the luxury of a torque lockup and auto shift feature. So the torque lockup basically means that we're having a direct drive. The fluid coupling, which is the torque converter, as and when you decide that you want to have that torque lockup engaged, it will lock it up mechanically and give you power straight through, again power to the ground, and taking out that inefficient torque converter. One of the things you'll notice is with regards to cooling. On this machine we have our main cooling pack and our charge air cooler mounted at the rear of the machine with a standard reversing fan. But we also have, for our higher horsepower ratings, as I said, this is 96.5 kilowatt, we have a remote mounted hydraulic cooler, again with a reversing fan, which allows for better ambient cooling and allows a much more efficient cooling across the machine. The one thing that you'll notice as I close the engine hood, and you'll notice this as we move around into the cab, is that versus the other previous series of Cat telehandlers, we've actually reduced the profile of the engine hood. So I'm stood here in what is regarded as the blind spot for telehandlers, but when you're sitting in that operator seat, that profiling of the hood gives better visibility over into this rear quarter. If we just move round to the rear of the machine, I just want to touch on a few key points here. So this machine is fitted with a hydraulic tow hitch. The machine has a towing capability of 12,000 kilograms or 12 tons. There are other hitches available. You could be as simple as a non-retrieval hitch, or there are other mechanical hitches available that can be selected on the machine. Here we have twin auxiliaries, so we're delivering 80 litres per minute of hydraulic oil to the rear of the machine. To have a double service means that if you were having a trailer which had a tipping function or a hydraulic operated tailgate, then from the comfort within the cab you don't have to get out and undo the tailgate, but you can operate the toggle levers inside the cab to operate those two hydraulic functions and stay within the cab, and obviously that saves time and gives more productivity, saves you jumping in and out of the cab. Of course, we have other trailer services such as your trailer electrics, your trailer hydraulic brakes, and then we also have the standard reversing beeper. If we just move round to the side of the machine here we have our diesel and our DEF tank conveniently located and sensibly marked up, and then to the rear of the cab we have our hydraulic tank with the sight glass so that you can keep an eye on the hydraulic level as well. If we move to the front of the machine, I fitted this machine with a grain bucket. There are other size buckets available, but this machine is fitted with a grain bucket, which is ideal for grain handling or any general purpose bucket work. We have an Cat IT coupler fitted to this machine, and we have a hydraulic locking coupler as well, which can be operated again from within the comfort of the cab. One of the things that is renowned within Caterpillar is our Zbar linkage. So we use the Zbar linkage on our telehandlers. Our wheel loaders also operate with Zbar linkage, but we use the Zbar linkage, which, as well as good engine power, good hydraulic power, the geometry and the mechanical forces that can be derived from that Zbar linkage gives us really good breakout forces, which we would need in bucket loading or any muck work. Again, we have a double auxiliaries at the front of the machine. These twin auxiliaries at the front deliver 95 litres per minute, so more than adequate to deliver the right flow needed for any hydromechanical work tool, such as a broom or a bale grab. So at the start of the presentation I said that this was a 7 metre machine. This means that we have a 2-section boom. Our 408, our 4-ton 8 metre machine, is also a 2-section machine. Our 3510, which is a 3.5-ton 10 metre machine, that enjoys a 3-section boom. You can see that located on our ag telehandlers we have boom brushes as standard. This stops any debris or any grain or anything running down the inside of the boom that could be detrimental to the performance of the boom. If we just touch on the axles briefly, so we run Dana axles on our machine, and as standard across all of our agricultural telehandlers we have dual axle braking, so we have oil immersed disc brakes in both axles, and that gives a smoother ride and helps with the braking effect across the machine. Just going to go into the cab and just talk about some of the features that we have inside the cab. So here inside the D series TH357D you can see that I'm in a very comfortable, ergonomically laid out operator station. We have all of the buttons grouped sensibly. We have our lights over here, we have our window washers, we also have a couple of bucket mode buttons here as well, and then over to the left hand side we have sensibly grouped our unlocking pins for our hydraulic coupler, and our fan and heater and air conditioning controls. There is a video already out on dealer.cat.com which goes over in some detail all of the buttons and what they do and how they laid out, so I would urge you to go and look at that video. One of the things I just want to touch on briefly is, as well as redesigning the ergonomically laid out cab, we also did a good job of redesigning our joystick. One of the biggest changes on joystick is the fact that we now have as standard our forward reverse lever as a toggle switch on the trigger finger. So what does that mean? That allows me to have much better control over the machine by being able to operate all of the hydraulic functions as well as the transmission gear select on the face of the joystick with my thumb, and then also change direction with my trigger finger. Previously I also had the directional switch on the other joystick here, and that meant that I was moving my thumb across a large area across the day, which was introducing thumb fatigue into operators, which was not well received. So we changed our joystick and we have a much better ergonomically comfortable joystick that sees operators enjoy the machine and operate it comfortably throughout the long hours that they do seasonally. Over here we have our bank of controls which are connected to our transmission and our torque lockup. So here we have our torque lockup and our auto shift rocker switches. The torque lockup and the auto shift, they can be left on or they can be left off as you decide. Currently at the moment I have my auto shift depressed, so if I was going to be running around on the road, the machine would go into auto shift from 3rd and it would move through the gears 4th, 5th and 6th on its own as I reach the required speed to move through the gearbox. The auto shift I would depress and have if I was doing a lot of road work, if I was towing bales, etc. But this I would have depressed, and this would come in and out on its own automatically as the machine reached the required road speed to have that direct drive and lock the torque converter, so you have the better efficiency with the travel speed through the torque lockup. The other thing that you'll see fitted on this machine is our high-end display. This gives your load charts. It allows you to scroll through and select different work tools that you may have selected on the front of the machine, and you can get the correct load charts to correspond with your work tool there. On the screen also you can see your grease points, you understand your service intervals, you can see what needs to be done as you move through those service intervals. So this high-end display does give you a lot of routine maintenance and service information as well. Just coming down to the bank of controls here, we also have the reversing fan switch, so you can set within the screen, you can set within the high-end display, you can set the reversing fan to come on as you wish, but if you decide that you want to just blip that switch, it will momentarily operate and clean out the debris from the cooling pack on demand of that switch. Thanks very much for listening to our walk around video. I hope it's been informative. Please reach out to your local Cat dealer if you have any more inquiries. Thank you.